Let's take a look at Smart Notebook being used in a foreign language class. So this is a sample lesson for a German 2 class. So if you are at a private or parochial school, you could start with prayer. Um, so we were working on the prayer before meals. So there's the prayer. And then, of course, I always have an agenda. Now, you'll notice here that I have a line for my agenda. That's because I have a student or myself write the date. That way they can practice, remembering what a date is in German. So if it was um, the 7th, 7. April, sorry, it's a lot easier to write on the board than at your computer. They would remember 7. April, so the 7th of April. Um, and then, of course, then we have the agenda. So if I talk about this, sometimes I usually like physically check things off. Okay, we do prayer, and then we'll do our journal or our bell work. This is what we're gonna work on for grammar, and we'll do some stuff in class. So I kind of have this as my agenda, usually bullet pointed um, as an op. So after the agenda, typically do some sort of bell work. The bell work could be a journal. In this case, it's grammar practice. So one of the things that I like to do is I incorporate a timer. I'm going to let that go while I talk about what I do here. So I set the timer to go off, and so the students are timed. That way they're not taking like 20 minutes to, to do their work. So for me, we do grammar, so I'm having them translate. They know the drill. Here's the sentence in English. Their job is to write down the sentence in German. This also gives me an opportunity to check their homework. I typically um, give them 4 to 5, 6 minutes sometimes for their bell work. Sometimes their bell work is review for the quiz. So if we have a vocab quiz at the beginning of class, I put 5 minutes on the timer and they can quiz each other. We use Quizlet so they can do the flashcards online or on their cell phones, or if they have their tangible flashcards with them as well. So that's typically what I use this space for, either quiz review or their bell work. So there's the timer. It can be a little annoying, but it works and it's great. We always go over the bell work. So what I've created is an object here. Let me show you how kind of these pull tabs, this is what it is the pull tab. So what I do is I type the text, hi, and then I pick a shape. That becomes my pull tab. There's also arrows and other shapes or pictures. Then what I do is I group these two images or objects together. And by grouping them, I can now move them together. So if this was off to the side, hidden, I could just pull this out and say, oh, hi. So that's what the pull tab is. So these are all stars. So I would go through and we would talk about each one and why is it the way it is and how's the grammar and anybody have any other issues or problems, did I do it right, etc. And they make their corrections. So we're still finishing up bell work at this point. Then we start the grammar. This first image here is what I call erase to reveal. So at the smartboard, I'd pick up the eraser and I would reveal, ooh, in case you didn't forget, I'm going to erase this. The first thing we're going to talk about today are verbs with prepositions. I use some more pull tab features. So the students, as I talk about each individual kind of bullet point, if you will, they can take notes. And that way they're not trying to copy everything down at once. They're just copying one piece of information at a time. This right here is the screen shade. I love this feature. It's another thing so you can hide things on the page so students don't just start going crazy and looking at everything. So you can use the screen shade to reveal what's behind it from either top to bottom or left to right. So I love this feature. I just used it to cover this right now. So I'm going to click this red X and get rid of it. So now this is an in-class activity. So students, we've been learning vocabulary. Their job is to come up to the board and to pick and to match. So, the blue text is locked down, so it can't be moved. But the students can come up to the board and with their finger, like drag drag the red definition to match the blue. So already I'm getting the students up to the board right away, and we're doing something interactive. I also have slides that I just write on. So this would be a slide where I've prepped some examples, but then, and this is going to be really hard to write at the computer, I would go up to the board and I would write, wir sprechen. There's no way this is going to work very well, so I apologize. I would, write out the sentence, or I have students come up to the board and write out the sentence so they're translating and using the grammar. So the verb prep combo to talk about. Then I like to do something interactive as well. So not only is it just them taking notes, something static that's on the screen, before we take notes, let's see what do we think we already know. So what are the verbs that already take the dative case? So this is something interactive in Smart Notebook. So the students would have to, and I'm not going to pay attention, I'm going to do this on purpose, just drag them across and do some weird things. I'll make sure I do a few that are right. So you can see, I'll have the students come up to the board and pick, or a few volunteers, and then we'll check. And, oh, sorry, that feature might not be working right now. And their job is to, make the corrections. But, every time this happens, they're able to once everything is correct as it should be. Sorry. Nope. Now they can write these down in their notes. So now, write these words down. These are all verbs that take the dative case. So something interactive, not just, okay, write this stuff down. Let's try it first. Once again, an opportunity for students to come up to the board and write, or for me to write. So how do you like this book? That's me writing it. Congratulate the teacher. So space, giving space to write while you're at the board as you would write on a chalkboard. Then after the grammar lesson, and we've discussed things, of course, we've answered questions, now they have work in class. So I typically have a slide up or a page up where they have to do some book work in class, and then we check it right away in class. So that way, when they're going home, they know they're on the right track. Many of them, obviously with German, don't have German-speaking parents at home, so it makes more sense for them to work with me on as much as they can. And then my last slide is always homework. So what's the homework? Of course, this homework is also always in their syllabus and their class calendar. But that's basically what a Smart Notebook lesson for my German foreign language class looks like.